Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am Mary Charlotte Grayson, Director of Events for the National Indian Gaming Association. Thank you so much for joining us today for our exciting and informative webcast series with the product spotlight with Raving. Today's discussion will focus on marketing and product spotlight of Raving. Before we introduce the presenters, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items to keep in mind. All audience members are on listen only mode, which means you are muted. We will be monitoring audience engagement on the dashboard and do encourage you to participate by using the question panel. There will be time for questions at the end of the presentation. We are recording this webinar and you will receive an email of the recording so that you may listen and refer back to it any time. This webinar, as well as others in our series, will also be made available on the NIGA YouTube channel in the coming week. Without further delay, let me introduce our host, Victor Rocha. Victor, take it away.
Good afternoon, Mary Charlotte. And if you're in your area near Mary Charlotte, please honk your horn so we can hear you if you're driving by. Thank you, Mary Charlotte. That was a bad joke, but good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Victor Rocha. I'm the, I'm the conference chairman of the National Gaming Association. I'm also the editor of Pechanga.net. Would like to thank you to our bi-monthly annual series called the National Gaming Association's Associate Member Spotlight. Again, the reason why we started doing this is to introduce the industry to the people who work very closely with the National Gaming Association, work closely with the tribes, and have these long, productive, and fruitful relationships. And I don't think anyone I could be more worthy of being in our new Spotlight series than our friend Deanna Scott from Raving. Actually, although I know that's not the full name. Deanna, welcome. Now, it's not Raving, the full name. What is the full name?
Raving Consulting, but we really just go by Raving.
Yeah, I remember you guys sent an email out like about a year ago where you guys condensed the name, and it used to be Raving Consulting. You better do your business with us or we're going to smack you around. And but I like Raving. You guys have been in the industry for a very long time. I think one of the things that's most unusual, but maybe not so unusual, but I think special, is the fact that you're it's a woman-owned business. Could you please tell us a little bit about Raving, give us our history, and then more importantly, tell us about you and your company.
Will do. So first, Victor, thank you so much for having us. Raving has been around for over 20 years, and we really consolidated about 3 years ago because we had so many different verticals within Raving, and people really think of us as a marketing company, and that's how we started. But since then, we've added the conference section. We now have a technology dashboard, engineering arm, and then media, which, is our industry report and Tribal Gaming and Hospitality magazine. So, it's a little bit more than just a marketing company these days, which we're really proud of. And I think one of the things for us has been, as we've been around a while and we've touched a lot of tribes throughout the US, but we also have a pretty large footprint internationally as well. So we've worked with very large corporations, commercial clients, down to some of my favorite clients, Irina up in the Northwest Peninsula. And that really warms our heart that we get into Indian country and really do work from very small engagements to very large engagements.
You mentioned that Raving's been known as a marketing company. What do you, and all that, by the way, in fair disclosure, I know you have an annual award that you give out, and I was a recipient of this award a while ago, but I do appreciate it. Tell us what are you guys doing now, because you're right, you guys were known as a marketing company.
And in fact, Victor, the guitars behind you remind me about when I first met you. I think it was at Agua Caliente, probably almost 20 years ago.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You played one of those guitars on stage at one of the Raving after parties.
That one.
So, yeah, I mean, I remember that. That was memorable. And I think that's the beauty of Raving. So when my husband and I, Brady, purchased Raving 4 years ago from Dennis Conrad, and who had the company. And what I loved about the company is I started as a client. I worked at a tribal property, my husband's casino for his tribe. And during that time, 20 plus years ago, and I know you remember this, that there weren't a lot of companies out there being fair to tribes. They were coming in and really taking advantage of, the casino price. And what I loved when I hooked up with Dennis at one of the conferences, he was really sincere about providing quality insight and operational best practices to tribes. And I remember him saying to me, you don't need this. You guys already know that, do this and call me if it works. And that always stood out to me as a company. So I'm really proud that when we purchased Raving, this resource that has been around for tribes and the industry is now a native-owned a business, because that is true to our core. So consulting and training is a big part of it. We go in and it's very customized. It's, what do you need? So it's not an off the shelf, pull down, this is the 5 things we do. We really spend time and research, talking to the client, and then saying, how do we help you improve something? Whether it's your, performance, geez, our slot hold is not doing well. Our loyalty club seems like we're giving away too much. That's always a big thing, right? Especially nowadays when we're trying to reevaluate the business. So we try to solve a problem, and we have about 20 consultants. And what I love about all of them is that they've been there, done that. And their goal really is to help and educate people. Our goal isn't to live with you. Our goal is to come in and help and then go on to the next person. And so that's a core part of our business. When I came on board, we added technology because I felt like that was an area that was very frustrating, especially for our smaller clients. And I've worked and opened up smaller properties. And what I was always frustrated at as an operator is I didn't have a couple $1 million sitting around to be able to get to my data. So we launched Raving Engineering and Dashboards a couple years ago, and we're very proud of that. It's helping tribes really get to the data, which is the core of the business. And especially right now when we have these limited floor operations and we're doing more with less, we need to be able to get in and get to the numbers and make decisions off of those numbers. So I'd say that really took a big change for Raving away from just the traditional consulting and conference business, which is really, Victor, what you know us for. You have presented and been a part of our conferences for a long
Yes.
time. So we're like everybody, and I know you're in this space, so you get it. Last year, and honestly, 2021 is going to be a big pivot change for us as in how we deliver a conference experience.
It says, as I was looking through my notes, I think to help people put a better understanding of Raving is that Raving has helped hundreds of gaming organizations reduce spending, increase revenues, build sustainable programs through customized programs for all departments, including data analytics, service, player development, training, and strategic operations. So you've really reached out to helping the tribes help themselves, which is, as we know, you mentioned that in the beginning, you're absolutely right. Dennis and Raving has always been one of the good guys. And it's always, when the transition happened, I thought it seemed very seamless. You know what I mean? You guys, a lot of the same people were still with you. It just felt that you said, listen, we're a much bigger company. We're much broader than just marketing. And it took me a little while to pound it through my head, as we know. And so, and that was one of the reasons why I felt that this would be a great opportunity to tell people about who you are and what you are. Like you said, you produce these several events and you have your publications. Tell us a little more about Dashboard. Tell me a little more about Dashboard. What is the value of Dashboard for Indian Country?
Well, for me, this was, like I said, a big project when I came on board because, I'm an operator at heart. I love getting into and walking around properties. And when I start with a client, there's this desire to want to just stay there during the engagement and help them because I remember what it's like working, the hours operators work and not having all the resources you need. So I wanted to find something that allowed us to help people get the job quicker and better without the huge casino price. And so I had been looking for a long time, and I actually partnered with a company that started in healthcare because one of the biggest concerns is the security of our data. And so this company that I work with and as a raving partner, we developed the dashboard based on using all of technology that you find in the healthcare arena and the stock market arena. So that's the foundation, and it's all customizable. So it fits with the raving philosophy is what, Pechanga needs versus what, Little Creek needs in Washington are two different things. And we have to be able to pivot and give them what they need. And so that's what I love about it. Whether you're looking at marketing numbers or something you give your entire team, or you want to create a player dashboard for your hosts, we can do that. And again, it's just another tool in the tool chest that allows us to do a better job with our clients too. Because if we're not helping people make decisions based on research and data, we're just saying, we're throwing a dart at the board and saying, well, I've been doing this 25 years, I know it all. I think I don't know anything. I feel like what I know is I have to be prepared every time I go into a situation to look at the data and the numbers and work with the team, because all I'm doing is helping them get over the top to the next level of success. And so that's what technology is about for me. We've had some great success with it, but most importantly, it opens the door for smaller properties to have a level playing field. And especially now when competition is such a big deal, not only have our properties, reduced our offerings, but we still have that same competition in a more limited market. So it's more important than ever to look at the data, to do the research, to reevaluate the programs that maybe we've set them and forget them. We just can't do that anymore.
Well, it seems like the pandemic has obviously changed everything but one of the things that's been really noted in some of our other ones is the fact that it's forcing tribes to become leaner and more efficient, to, like, as you said, do more with less. And, one of the other things that I was thinking about as you were speaking, Gary Loveman, the famous former CEO of Caesars, when Gary came into the industry, he was a professor over at Harvard, and he came in, and that his whole thing, it's kind of legendary now, is that he took Caesars and he made them more responsive to the customers. They started using all the data, and they were really one of the first people to start using the data and using the information. And I remember when he started, part of the big thing was that, all the old school people were, Mary Charlotte, is your phone on? Is that you? Who am I hearing? I'm hearing an extra sound back there. Anyhow, but he was talking about the idea of using data for customer acquisition. Now it's standard across the industry. But one of the things that I've noticed is that the technology and the cost of technology has come down. And can you talk a little bit about that and how you help tribes bringing them into this area?
Yeah, and I think that was exactly right with our dashboard. It's using cloud-based technology, and everybody hates to hear that, but we have to begin to move forward in our industry to find ways to secure data and get the job done more reasonably. If the stock market and very large healthcare organizations can do it, we should be able to do it as well. And we're proving it can be done. No longer do you need, I remember doing design build construction for properties and needing these huge server rooms that were, $500,000, $2 million for a casino to operate. Those days are gone. And those are the kinds of things that as we kind of pivot in our business and think about what's next, which is a big, big push for raving, is what's next. We don't want to be just catching up. We want to be thinking about what's coming up. And so reevaluating and doing audits on your technology and how you're getting work done. How do you get leaner and meaner? Those are the things that I really enjoy doing, because there's not as we've learned in 2020, there's not a never-ending supply of cash. It's not just going to fall out of the sky anymore. And the market is going to change. Technology is changing how we need to think about gaming. And if we're not doing that, we're going to be left behind. And that means we have to be doing strategic planning, doing these engagements where we're really saying, what are our weaknesses and how do we plan to take care of that and balance the needs of the tribe? And those things have to go hand in hand. And if you're not thinking about that, it ends up being where, operations and tribal council are butting heads, and that can't happen anymore. We have to work together. We have to design plans that are sustainable, not only for the gaming organization or the business organization, but for the tribe's needs as well. So it's—
Deanna, can you pull the graphic down? I can't see you on the screen.
You bet.
There you go. Now they're seeing us. Now the customers are seeing us. So, like you said, the entry into technology has definitely changed, and even more in the last 5 years, and actually even going closer to that, the pandemic, you talk about that, and that really is the motivation for everything that we're doing now. You know what I mean? And like for me personally, the technology, the price has just gone down astronomical, but there's just so much now that you really do need someone to help you understand it and make it more efficiently, instead of going down this technology rabbit hole where who knows what's down at the end sometimes, you know what I mean? But I think that's why it's important having friends like Raving to help Indian country and stuff like that, and especially the smaller tribes. I think our brothers and sisters in the smaller tribes have learned to be more efficient and do better business with more doing less, and I think people like you are very helpful. So as a smaller tribe, how would we go engage? How would we engage you? Would we just pick up the phone? Or what would be a situation where a small tribe or a large tribe or medium tribe would call you? Give me a good example.
Okay. So for us, every engagement is customized, and that starts with a phone call or an email. And it's very personal. We really spend some time on the phone saying, Amy Hergenwather, who's our VP of sales, it's always, what's the pebble in your shoe, or what's keeping you up at night? What's that thing that you guys need some help with? You need just a couple extra hands. And then we walk through that, and then we put together a custom proposal, which includes research. We have a PhD researcher on our team. So depending on the engagement, you might need that, you might not. But it always resides in the analytics or doing some sort of data to start building a proposal for the person. But if it's guest service, you need a refresher in guest service, that's a different conversation. So, and then from there, we work with any size budget and try to make it as available to everybody as possible. And we're flexible. Again, that is what makes us who we are. And when I was a client of Raving, I appreciated that. Amy, this is the only budget I have, and I can't do it for a year. Funny, she calls me a year later and we talk about it. And so that's what we want to be able to continue to do, is really talk to our client and get what they need. And that need changes. And boy, did it change last year. And so we had engagements online where we were going to spend, a week in Oklahoma. We couldn't do that. So we had to really pivot. Fortunately for us, we work with clients internationally, which we do remote work. We've already been doing remote work, but we really had to step it up a bit last year to meet the needs of our clients as well. So now we've kind of updated all of our engagements that could be done 100% remotely. And the beauty of that is that does save some travel costs for smaller properties. So it really is what you need. And I maybe we took that from Victor. It's usually all about Victor, but we said it's all about the client, and we customize it based on their need.
I'm so glad you said that, because I was going to say that too. You know what I mean? You know what? We have a question here from Justin Shank, and Justin says casinos should also be taking that example at Caesars and applying that high level of customer service to their digital and online assets. Customers are posting hundreds and thousands of comments, questions, messages, and reviews across many social media channels that are going unheard. Properties that spend more time now in their online customer service will win. If the pandemic has taught us anything, it's that we need improvements in our online and digital market. Justin, thank you very much. That is a very, very good statement. He's absolutely right. You know what? Before it was, how do you guess? Now you don't have to guess what the customer's thinking. They're going to tell you on the different formats, more on your Facebook page. It isn't just about Yelp anymore. It really is about your media pages, your Twitter accounts, your Facebook pages. I know my tribe specifically takes a lot of care and a lot of attention on their Facebook page and communications. And you know what, what Gary, the magic that Gary brought in the late 90s, early 2000s is something we all have access now, which is, this technological voodoo, the way to reach out to the customers. It's still very relevant and more important now. The deal is that we have more ways of contacting and more ways of hearing our customers complain than ever before. You know what I mean? And complain they do, and compliment and stuff like that. Can you speak to the issue that Justin's talking about? I think that's a very profound statement there.
Justin and I have been so frustrated about our industry's use of social media and digital resources for years. And what I love, anytime there's a bad situation, I'm that person who tries to think a little bit differently about what we can take away from it and what we learned. So we're getting smarter and better at focusing on the core business. The pandemic helped us do that. The pandemic also helped us determine that we have to get better at our social media and our digital communication. I've been so happy to see messaging change and people actually start to use it more effectively. In fact, we actually have a panel on in our conference that starts January 25th, Raving Next, that's with the VP of Caesars Digital Marketing, and she sends out thousands of digital messages a month. And we're really going to talk a lot about how you create a customer journey, which is something we talk about, but nobody has really taken a hold of. And Caesars is doing that. So they're a great example. So it is definitely something that needs to be incorporated into an overall direct marketing campaign. And it can enhance those campaigns so much. And you have to put a resource to it. There's no way around it. I mean, we have to start spending money on those things that are going to drive a more interactive engagement with our customer.
One of the new things that I really noticed that really took off during the pandemic is the use of YouTube and the use of influencers. That seems to be, as someone who spends a lot of time on YouTube, probably I spend more time on YouTube than I probably spend on regular television now. I have a TV in my office and I never turn it on, but I find YouTube absolutely fascinating. Now, I have a premium account, so I don't get the ads, which makes it a much more enjoyable experience. But the fact you've seen a lot of these casinos going out and reaching out to these social influencers. I saw San Manuel had this slot guy with a couple 100,000, and it's really quite amazing to watch these people. They sit down, they put their camera on, and and it's about enjoying. And they'll drop like $500 in a slot machine, and they have an experience. They're sharing that experience, and I see that moving more and more into Indian country, more and more into gaming, as they're learning the power of this media. And it isn't just static messages. It isn't, we've come a long way into using these multi-channel marketing, becoming better and more just becoming more effective in our marketing, and it's just changed, and and it's really amazing to watch. So have you obviously you've seen the same things too?
I want to give you a hug just that you said multi-channel marketing. Yes, we can't.
Do you see the blood in my ears coming out? I was trying to figure that out mid-sentence.
One mail and expect that to be enough. And if we're truly going to engage with our customers, we have to understand our property, especially, again, going back, any property needs to do that. But if you're in a property that has, competition all around you, if you're just trying to do what the competition does, you will never win. You have
Right.
start from the beginning and create that strategic plan that says, who are we? Why do we do what we do? What are our strengths? And people think we know that. I've been here 30 years. I know what this is about. But are you taking that from the customer perspective? And if you're not, you're missing out and really truly listening. And if you can do that and then use all of these digital tools on top of that to create a very authentic, unique experience about who you are, you can live next to Pechanga and have a great piece of business. But if you're trying to be Pechanga when you're not Pechanga, you're going to struggle because you're going to be spending way too much money on the wrong things. And so again, it goes back to really understanding the core of who you are in your business, and then developing a multi-channel marketing and strategic business campaign to grow. And it's possible to win that way.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the important things is having people like you and professionals that understand this, because, as someone who has 4,000 followers on Twitter, and sometimes that feels enough, all of a sudden you're like, well, how many do you have on Instagram? You're like, what? I'm supposed to be on Instagram too? I mean, I can only do so many things. I only want to be so social, you know what I mean? But I think that's the important, is that as an industry, we're learning the value of things. For Twitter, it was something you used to tweet, and Facebook is something you say hi. Now it's very serious business. It's the way people communicate. And if you're not on top of it, or you're not having people like Deanna and Raving in your corner, it just makes it a little more difficult. Doesn't mean you're not going to get there, but having someone like Deanna and having someone like Raving just really helps you get to where you need to be in this new format that we all live in. We all live in the matrix now. Deanna, I don't have much more time, but one of the last things I'd like to talk about, could you tell us a little more about your Raving Next, your conference that you have coming up in a couple of weeks, and tell our customers about that and why they should be attending?
Yes, and I'm going to go ahead and put the screen up for a second.
There you go.
The detail. But so Raving Next conference is coming up the end of this month. Registration is already online. It's 100% virtual. We have some on-demand content that you can access at any time. It's going to be recorded, so if you miss a session, you can pick it up at night or whenever you need to. We've been doing this conference for over 20 years. There's a big focus on analytics and marketing at this one. And we're also going to assume the marketing conference that happens in July. We started that one over about 20 years ago. BNP took it over and we partnered with them. But as of 2021, it's going to be 100% Raving again. And we are going to be flipping that one upside down and coming up with some new things and again, it's great timing to do that because the industry has changed, technology's changed, and we're gonna, hopefully blow it up and really give casino marketing not just the national attention it needs, but the international attention it needs. So you can go to betravingknows.com and check out the conference specifically. But before we close too, Victor, I want to talk just a minute about Tribal Gaming and Hospitality Magazine, because
yeah, absolutely.
A huge opportunity. It's near and dear to our heart. I've been in tribal gaming for over 25 years, and I always felt like tribes tended to say the commercial properties, oh, they're great, they're bigger, they're better. And I just feel like that is not the case. And tribal gaming and hospitality is a showcase for the wonderful businesses that tribes have created. Tribes are the leaders in best practices in gaming and hospitality, and this magazine is intended to highlight that. So not only will you get all the best practices and the articles about what's happening operationally, we now have a place to highlight these amazing business leaders like Jeannie Dillard and Choctaw and Pechanga. You guys were on one of our first covers. And it's talking about the real business behind what tribes are doing, which that is why I love working for tribes. Think about 7 generations. What are we creating for the future? And Strictly Commercial doesn't do that. So we have something to be proud of. And we also have an area for tribal businesses and native businesses to be showcased for free. We want to start really being the place we come to find what's going on in the industry, and that there's a place for these startup businesses to, get a leg up. So this is our, I would say, our heart at Raving, and we aggregate a lot of data. So, we share articles. Pachanga.net is another great resource for those things. But we need to make people know that tribal gaming and hospitality, doesn't need to be second to anybody. We are the leaders in casino hospitality as an industry. So we're really.
And absolutely. I believe in the chat room, if you guys are in, if you look down in the chat room, there's some information down there. There's a couple links. If you would like to get free access to the magazine, remember there's also digital. It's also online. And more importantly, as we come out of this pandemic, the world, our world has been turned upside down. And it's very important that we as an industry understand this and we work together. And I think people like Deanna and the great folks at Raving are very important in the future. And so, Deanna, I want to thank you very much. I really appreciate this. And also, everyone, I thank you for the questions. Thank you for the participation. This video will also be available. We'll send it out to you. And Deanna, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the audience before I let you go?
Thank you, Victor, for doing this. I think sometimes vendors, people kind of forget about what they bring to the industry. And, we do the same at our conferences and at the magazine, is try to highlight business as well. So thank you for doing this. And as always, we look forward to seeing you in person in 2021.
We can't wait. All right, Deanna, thank you very much. And to all of our guests, thank you very much. We will be back in 2 weeks. And don't forget our weekly webcast in the new normal. We appreciate you guys very much. Thank you very much, Deanna. Thank you.
Bye.